the National Film Board of Canada presents Perspective, a Canadian view of Canada, its people, and the world in which they live. This week, Perspective presents David, the profile of a problem drinker, by Stanley Jackson.
Don't worry.
Oh, Norma, come on in.
Hi, Helen. How are you?
Hi, Norma.
Hi, David.
See you Monday.
Oh, where's David off to?
Toronto.
Toronto?
No, I just think it's crazy to send a guy like David Speer to Toronto to represent us at a conference that important. We shouldn't take the chance.
He knows more about utility design than anyone else in the firm.
But you know you can't depend on him.
Help you, sir.
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Why should it be so different for David?
I don't know. It's all right now, though, I think. He hasn't touched a drink for over a month.
Make up your mind.
Ride the rocks, double. I'm in a hurry.
Never know it.
Remember ages ago, Norma, how we used to talk? And I said, David's the best of the lot. Remember? In spite of everything, I still think so. He's kind, and I just wish he were happier somehow. He's not really happy.
I'm sorry, sir. Your train left just 2 minutes ago.
Sorry, sir. All our morning flights are booked solid, and there's a long waiting list. Sorry, I couldn't help you, sir.
Well, the moral is never spend an evening at home.
Come now. Come, Mr. Laura. I'll go hand.
Come on, Geordie, let's get out of here.
Taxi, sir?
Do you know where I can get a bottle of rye this time of night?
Sorry, Mac. Long business.
$10? $20?
Okay, get in.
Hello. Is Mr. Speer there?
It's for Daddy.
Hello?
Hello, is Mr. Speer there by any chance?
No, Mr. Speer is in Toronto today. Is there any message?
This is his office calling. Is that Mrs. Speer?
Yes.
You're sure Mr. Speer left for Toronto?
Yes, he left. Is something wrong?
No, it's just that we hadn't been able to contact Mr. Speer in Toronto, and I thought perhaps he might have been sick and...
No. No.
Thank you, Mrs. Speer. Goodbye.
Timmy, I asked you to go to the store for me. Now, hurry up.
Well, he's in some flea trap downtown. I'm all right, I lose. Don't look so smug. Oh, the fool, the absolute fool.
It's hopeless, Helen. I honestly thought a quick drink could help me sleep on the train. Can't come home.
David, where are you?
I don't know what to do.
Where are you?
Well, I don't know. He's got a nice wife, kids. He's done a lot of nice work for me. I can't give him the boot just like that. Tell you what I'll do. I'll demand as an absolute condition of his job that he see a doctor who knows something about this alcoholic business.
He doesn't need a doctor. He needs a swift kick in the...
He'll see a doctor.
Can I be cured?
To put it bluntly, I don't know. We'll have to see how this problem developed first. By the way, would you have your wife come and see me? It would be a great help.
Is David an alcoholic?
Don't worry about the term. He certainly is a very sick man. He's one of those who can't drink without it having a very disastrous effect upon their lives. It's a long, slow process, generally, but you can tell by certain signs when it's happening.
But why does it happen?
There are a great many reasons. We'll come to that. First, we have to know how it happened. Tell me, what was David like when you first knew him?
I thought he was wonderful. He was wonderful. I remember the first time I ever saw David. It was at a party. It was my cousin Norma introduced me to David. There was something awfully nice about him. He seemed sort of shy and polite and, I don't know, modest. Not like Pete Gorman in that bunch.
So he says, I don't know what kind of a dog it was, but he says, you should have seen it before I had it shaved.
Oh, excuse me.
Drink? No, thanks. You can't fly in one wing, boy.
Oh, come on, David. Get in the spirit of things.
All right. Thanks.
Hi.
Norma told me David was a very quiet chap. Not a drinking type. But that night he threw caution to the winds. And he had a wonderful time. He sort of came out of his shell. I thought, he's the best of the lot. He's serious, but he's great fun, too. I want to meet him again. That was a wonderful party. In the year after that, I saw quite a bit of David. He was going to be an architect. He was working hard, terribly conscientious. But once in a long while, he scraped together enough money for us to have a real splurge of an evening. He used to talk sometimes about his family out in the country, about funny things that happened when he was a kid on the farm. He wasn't shy with me, or anybody really, when he'd had a few drinks. He'd even try dancing. He wasn't very good, but wonderful friends, wonderful evenings. I'd fallen in love with David. We were married the next year. What on earth got into him, Doctor?
I want to hear more about him.
Well, we were happily married. Don't make any mistake about that.
What about drinking?
Well, nothing really then. There'd be a bang-up party at Pete Gorman's or someplace pretty often. David drank a lot at a party. He'd get awfully gay and funny and have a hangover the next day. And say, I'm never going to have another drink as long as I live, if I live. You know. Timmy was born a couple of years after our marriage. David adored him. I was content. I'd quit my job, of course, when the baby came along.
What about David's work?
Well, he was with Thorkelson Scott right from the time he graduated. He began as a utilities draftsman, fitting the heating and plumbing stuff into other people's designs. Well, not very inspiring, but they all began with something like that. Perhaps it was a poor firm for David to be with then. They weren't doing too well, and promotions were slow. The junior men used to convene for beers at the pub after work, sort of a daily bull session.
Thorkelson, don't he get off his big fat behind? He's too conservative. I give him 3 months. If there's no change in 3 months, I walk out. Lousy paid, lousy...
It's all right for you to talk. You're single. It's different for us guys. Look,
You can't blame everything on Thorkelson. It's not his fault if a customer changes his mind. He doesn't make the customer's policy.
Policy, schmolicy. I'm an architect, not a plumber. Excuse me.
I used to get cross with David sometimes. Seemed to me they didn't have to drink every day. I never knew quite when to have dinner ready. Then, as time passed, odd things began to happen.
Hi,
Mike,
Dave.
Norma's husband, used to drop in the odd time for a beer with the boys. I learned about it from him. A real lout from the shipping room was there that day. He'd had too much to drink. Kept butting in.
Say, how much beer do you drink in a day?
Not too much.
Boy, if I drank as much as that, I'd be tighter than a bedbug.
Will you mind your own business?
It's a free country. What's the matter with him?
He's drunk. Well, there's something I forgot. Have to be on my way. It's on the house, gentlemen. So long. Same again. Hi.
David, Mike happened to phone. You left the boys at the pub over an hour ago. Where have you been?
I was at the bar.
Who with?
Myself.
Why on earth?
Well, I wanted to have a drink.
All alone?
I have to think things over.
What things? How much have you had to drink?
6 ryes.
6 ryes?
I know. I've been drinking too much. I didn't want to tell you, Helen. I didn't want you to get upset. Honestly.
Aren't you happy, David? Or...
Sure I'm happy. I know. Look, Ellen. There's nothing to worry about. I decided tonight to go on the wagon. I'm not going to touch another drink till New Year's.
So hard to believe. You don't look really drunk.
It'll be all right. You've got to trust me, Helen.
I do.
How's Timmy?
Sound asleep?
I guess I was expecting to hear something like that. Know why David was so touchy about those remarks in the pub? Because he's a good man with enough sense to be afraid. Afraid that alcohol was becoming essential to him.
But why?
We'll leave that question to David. How long did he stay on the wagon?
What makes you so sure he went on the wagon? As a matter of fact, he didn't even touch a glass of beer for over a month. And we were happy. Everything was going fine as far as I knew. David had got a raise, although he was still on pretty routine work. And then, I can't explain what happened to him. I only know what happened. It was pure chance that David bumped into Pete Gorman.
I haven't seen you in a month.
Look, Pete, I really haven't got time.
Oh, come on. Everybody's got time for a quick one. Come on, tell me.
And Pete maneuvered him into the bar.
What it be? It's on me. I'm buying.
Beer will be fine.
Beer? Are you kidding? On a day like this? Jim, make us 2 of those rum specials, huh?
Pete left. David stayed. Called me about 7 o'clock. I'll be late. Don't worry.
Dry martini.
That night,
Sure.
Pete dropped in for a nightcap. He found David.
You here again or still?
Yeah. Yeah.
Got my car outside, Dave. Drive you home.
I'm all right.
Pete brought David home that night. We had to put him to bed. Next day, David didn't even remember how he got home.
Something like that, or looks like that, has happened to a lot of people. Man gets into a jam, may go out with the intention of forgetting it. It's not exactly an adequate way of handling the situation, but it's not serious the first time. Was there any special reason for him to drink like that?
Well, as far as I knew, it was just an ordinary day. And after that, he was off the wagon with a vengeance. I don't know whether to weep or laugh when I remember some of the things. One summer evening, Mrs. Henry Baylor had thrown open her home to the neighbors. She'd invited us to discuss a plan for a community playground. It was one of those affairs where there's one drink for the gentlemen, and the ladies are expected to ask for coffee. I had trouble persuading David to go. He thought the whole idea was impractical. He'd had a lot of drinks before dinner. I was worried. David had disappeared.
It's my hope can be made into a park, a place for the children to play in, a place of beauty for the adults. This can be done if we, as responsible citizens, act together as a group of petitioners. Individually, we're helpless, but if we act as a group, what do you think, Mr. Pollock?
Well, I think the idea is all right. I'm just wondering if we're going about it in the right way.
Yes. Oh, Mr. Speer. Mr. Speer, as some of you may know, is an architect. You know our aim. What do you think, Mr. Speer?
I think this petition is a lot of baloney. This district isn't zoned. You could build a glue factory here, and there's nothing you could do about it. All this business about beautiful gardens.
He's right, you know.
You have to be more realistic. You have to be more realistic.
He's drunk.
Where do you suppose he got the stuff?
Oh, I wish I knew.
I suppose there is something to what Mr. Spear said.
Stupid people.
I suppose David gave you good reasons for drinking that night?
Oh, yes, there was always a reason. Could be anything. He drank himself stiff to celebrate the last day of winter. The next to celebrate the arrival of spring. He drank because a headline upset him. He drank his lunch because he wasn't hungry. Always some reason. Your dinner's in the oven. You'll have to warm it up.
Look, Ellen. I couldn't get away. I didn't want to insult Arnie.
Who's Arnie?
I told you about Arnie. Cousin of Harold Rudd. Shipping room. 36 today. Nicest fella you want to meet.
David?
Don't get upset, Ellen. He only has his birthday once a year.
Once a year. David. David.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It was heartbreaking. Our life was a mess.
What your husband calls reasons for drinking, they aren't genuine. Better to call them alibis to cover up the fact that he could no longer help drinking. Unless somehow he could get greater understanding into what was happening. The alcohol was beginning to run him.
Certainly something was. You know, the horrible thing was that alcohol began to seem to be more important to him than anything else. Me, the children, his job, his friends. He didn't even drink with the boys anymore. You talk about understanding. He understood. Let me tell you about a weird coincidence. It was after midnight. David was out, heaven knows where. He'd been drinking heavily for months. I thought, I can't stand trying to understand David anymore. We have no money. We're up to our ears in debt. His job's shaky. I thought, there's only one thing to do. Borrow some money from Dad. Admit we're a failure. Get David into a rest home or sanitarium or someplace like that. Take the kids and go home. And then see what happens. See if...
It's all over.
Mommy, I heard a big noise.
It's nothing, Jenny. Now go on back to bed. Go on now.
I'll clean it up, Helen. All I've got.
Could have given it away.
It's finished, Helen. I don't know how you stood it, but it's over now. I haven't had a drink in 4 days. Tonight I've been by myself, thinking. Do you know why I drink, really? Because I despise my job. 10 years utility drafting, and I drink to deaden the disappointment. Then Thorkelson says, see, you can't trust him with anything but the Joe jobs, because he drinks. It's a vicious circle. But I see it all clearly now, and it's not too late to start over again. No more kidding myself. I know it's tough, Helen, but I want you to try and trust me. Can you?
Yes.
David's a brave man. It takes courage to face reality, when the reality is as disheartening as that. Only question is, was that really the whole of what was bothering him? I don't mean he wasn't being honest, but...
No. Anyway, we started all over again. David worked hard, and Thorkelson was pleased with him. Well, a week ago yesterday was the night he was supposed to leave for Toronto. The rest you know.
Yes.
Is it hopeless?
No, not hopeless. There are people, of course, who go on drinking until they kill themselves one way or another, but...
David's health is...
I know what you're going to ask. No, I've examined him. He's actually not in too bad shape physically. He's one of the lucky ones.
Doctor, what could I have done? What should I have done?
I mentioned there are certain signs when a person is drinking in a way that leads to disaster. These signs sort of chart the course. Drinking every day, sneaking drinks, blackouts, the alibis, the fears, even going on the wagon, the remorse, the helplessness. It's cruel to say it to you now, but if you or your husband had known the meaning of these signs, you might have caught it before it was too late.
Is it too late, Doctor?
In a way, yes. You're going to have to get along without alcohol for the rest of your life. It may take all the resources of medicine to help you. Hospitalization, drugs, psychotherapy. It's possible we won't have to get to that. I want you to try something. Go home, get lots of rest, lots of food, no liquor, and try and find out for yourself why it is that alcohol meant so much more to you, say, than Pete Gorman. I've had patients who numbed themselves with alcohol to cover feelings of guilt or to dampen down hostility towards others or to brace themselves for situations that they couldn't face, who seem to drink for the sake of drink. I want you to try and find out why for you. At least you've been looking for an answer lately. That's something.
Sure doesn't take a mastermind to know why I started drinking. Look, before I met you, I hated going to a party. I was scared, I was awkward. I was a boob. They'd give me a few drinks, and I'm the life of the party. I'm a wit. I'm just dandy. That's what you married. A fake personality.
Listen, that's not why I loved you. There was another side to you, David. You were quiet and serious. And you were fun, too. Where's that gone?
You know, Doctor, it's funny how things happen. Over the years, I'd forgotten a whole part of my life. Timmy, that's my son. Last Saturday morning, he dragged me off to the park to see a snow house he was building. Such a simple thing. In Tim, I saw part of myself. The bright part. Before I got sidetracked into trying to be something other than myself. This sounds all very romantic. But believe me,
For the first time in years, I felt the possibility of joy. Joy in work, in my family. You know, Doctor, when I tried to stop drinking before, I nearly went out of my mind. Now I feel entirely different. I'm free.
No, you're not free. You're on the track of something good. Keep on it. But it won't be that easy. I'd like to put you in touch with Alcoholics Anonymous or some similar organization. And I want you to see me frequently during the next year. At least once a month. You're feeling pretty good right now. But what of those gray days? The days when things get on your nerves. Because you can't ever drink again. Not a glass of sherry at Christmas. Nothing. It'll be a struggle sometimes, often. But your whole life is in the balance.
Oh, hello. Obviously can't shake hands.
How's the family?
Fine.
David?
Oh, just fine. Doctor, I've been wanting to come to see you for months, to thank you.
Well, I just gave him a steer, that's all. The real job he's doing himself. It's not all over yet, you know. He mustn't get overconfident.
No. We're building in the spring, you know, out at Briar Hill. David's designing houses now, not just ours. He's happy.
Cheers. It's all right. Just plain ginger ale.
Cheers. Cheers. Excuse me.
Hi there, boy. What are you having there?
Just plain ginger ale.
Ginger ale. Here, let me swing
No,
up.
I'm all right, Pete.
Come on, Dave. Just have one little drink for Pete's sake. For Pete's sake. Come on, Pete.
Look, Pete, I don't drink. I can't drink. I'm slipping away, Norma.
Christmas?
Haven't seen you for a long time, Mr. Speer.
No. Quiet tonight here.
Most people are home tonight.
I don't want anything, Oscar. I don't know why I'm here.
Happy New Year to you, Mr. Speer.
Same to you, Oscar.
By the way, Miss Hardy, would you reserve a hotel room for Mr. Speer for April 6th to April 10th?
Very well.
You're sending Speer to Toronto.
Logical man.
You're a good architect, Scott, but you haven't a sense of humor.